Here, make
What's up, everybody? You're here on another episode of Chiefs Focus Live, brought to you by the Fantasy Sports Corporation and TSS. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Still catching up on some sleep post draft, but
Yeah, it was a good draft. We had a lot of fun. Everybody had fun. You guys had more fun than I did, but it was nice to see it. So,
a lot of walking,
yeah.
but it was fun.
Walking.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's fair. Hey, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Why not go? Why not?
Exactly. Got a new player today. Signed a left tackle. So,
Yeah, it's an interesting signing. It just sort of came out of nowhere, right? Usually, left tackles like this, 29 years old, right? $9 million deal. You would expect him to be signed much earlier than after the draft. So it's an interesting deal. I will be interested to see, what happens with this, because this has some more questions to our offensive line in terms of who's going to play. I don't know how anybody could be upset by it, just personally speaking.
Oh God.
Oh, you
we'll go on Twitter today. Don't go on Twitter today.
They're slamming Veach like it's nothing. I'm like, well, number one, 5 years, 2 Super Bowl wins, another extra Super Bowl appearance we lost, 2 AFC Championship games and lost. That's pretty good to be in the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl in 5 straight years. A lot of teams don't get that luxury. I'm not worried in the move now. Will I say maybe it's a little interesting to see we get someone this late now? Makes sense. But this just lets me know the Chiefs probably are going to be looking for a left tackle of the future very soon. Someone they can lock up for a long time, because I don't see them doing these 1-year fixes. It's not going to work. I think when this look at this next offseason, if they don't get this guy to a 1-year deal, several multi-year deal, they're going to have to go after someone. It's just kind of what it looks like at this point.
Well, right now, the way they've got it set up, he is definitely in their minds right now. He is definitely going to be the starter.
Okay.
So, I think, given the fact that they didn't get exactly who they wanted in the draft, and it was limited funds as of right now, they picked up a player they think that will fill the shoes. Again, this is not. I mean, I say this all the time, and I know it's probably beating a dead horse, but this is not a situation that we have to have the best of the best all the way across the front line or the O-line. Mahomes is a different quarterback. He is not Brady. He is not Tua. He's not anyone else but himself. So given the fact that he's able to get out of situations that most quarterbacks cannot get out of, is why I am not really concerned with it.
Yeah, no,
we still have some amazing players. And granted, left tackle was not as big an issue as right tackle was last year, in my opinion. I think right tackle was worse as far as the play was concerned. But I think we're going to be just fine. We got a lot of depth there, and we paid a guy $80 million that can play both sides. So if we have an issue, we can always move somebody around. Pretty simple.
Do you think this says anything in terms of how the Chiefs feel about Jawaan Taylor?
This is how I feel. I see they're having him mainly as your right tackle guy. If they need him a left tackle, great. I think he is at least a cornerstone piece somewhere on this line. He's going to play right tackle or he's going to be left tackle. and they have to have them locked up for 3 years, 2 to 3 years. So I'm not concerned about him. I don't think it says a lot. I think we still, however, is that if he cannot play the left tackle well, they have someone ready to go to take that spot, because they're not going to just put a rookie out there. They're going to have to sign a veteran to a multi-year deal instead of doing those cheap one-year fix. I think this is just a bridge year to see kind of what's out there before the Chiefs throw some cash at the left tackle position, because they're fine in the interior and they're fine at right tackle, but left tackle is where we see there's a little bit of a concern in certain areas.
Well, I think that I don't think they're so concerned with Taylor at all. I think they just want to make sure they have depth, and I think they're more concerned with who they got in the draft and who they have sitting behind to come in case of an injury, more than anything else. And they need time to develop the guys that they have.
Yep.
So it's not a bad thing. I mean, I saw one guy posted, "Oh well, shit. Now we're not getting D-Hop. Guess we're not saving money for D-Hop."
Let me start you right there. Oh, go ahead, JP.
I just wanted to show this really quick.
Dumbass. Thank these. Dumbass. Stupid.
I say that and I play that simply because if you honestly thought that Veach was going to give up that kind of capital for D-Hop, a 31-year-old wide receiver, you're smoking dope. Because number one, we don't need him. Period. We do not need the man. Sorry. We just don't. We didn't need him last year. We don't need him this year. Mm-hmm. If he comes to look, if Arizona came down to reality on this and said, okay, maybe we'll eat 50% of this contract. Okay. Give up a 4th-round pick for him for next year, to sign him to a 3-year deal with a 2-year out. Okay, fine. You're talking about $15 million over 2 years. Who gives a shit? But Veach is not going to give up $32 million for 2 years on a player. Sorry, he's not going to do it, dude. He won last year with friggin' rookies and 1 year starters in this with our team. We have our number one starter, and that is Travis Kelce.
Basically, D-Hop at this point is a luxury. The Chiefs at wide receiver are going to be just fine. I would love to have D-Hop, but here's the thing. We're not going to go the roller coaster what we had with Patrick Peterson. As a Chiefs fan during that time period, I don't want that stress, because it was either will he, won't he? Will they trade him? Won't they trade him? I'm not going through all that again. If D-Hop comes, it's going to be for a luxury. One thing has to happen, and that is Chris Jones needs to be extended, which will happen, and he has to come down his asking price. And another thing is that he has to be cut post-June 1st.
Well, Chris Jones is going to get extended. That's not.
And I think that's going to
done,
happen.
But
the only way the Chiefs are going to sign him is it's for a reasonable price. It's not going to be no crazy 3 years, $48 million. No, it's going to be for a reasonable price. And I'm sorry, Chiefs fans, and I hate to say this to you, but the only way D-Hop is going to come here is if it's going to be a Finley deal and he wants to win a ring. And he went on Twitter and basically said, "Who said I wanted to leave? Who said I wanted to leave? Maybe I want to be here." Man, we already know you're playing both sides of the fence.
He knows it. You know why he said that?
Why?
Because not one fucking team has decided to pick him up on that contract. That's why he's saying that.
I'm sorry. No one's going to pay him that much. And it's the two options. I said, the tell is all the time. You guys might have to make a sign for me. I'm going to have to put it right over here. It's either you want money, or it needs to be this. You want money or you want a ring. That's what it comes down to. D-Hop's made a lot of money, and he's had some success. But does he want a ring to have that success? You could say he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. But I think what would kick him over the edge is if he wins a Super Bowl ring and contributes to a team like the Chiefs or another Super Bowl contending team and actually wins one. I felt that's kind of the outlier for putting him against the grade. That's just my opinion personally. It's either if you want money or you want a ring.
I agree. And look, I think a lot of this frustration is coming from the desperation moves made by the Baltimore Ravens with OBJ. Because not one wide receiver was getting $15 million a year.
Hey, they had some good years, but I saw the writing on the wall last season, the season before, when they started off hot and they struggled. Cardinals should have made the playoffs, honestly, the last 2-3 years in a row, but they had a lot of issues and struggling. It's just too dysfunctional down there. And I'm sorry, but the Cardinals in a rebuilding mode. And if I was D-Hop, he needs to come to realization, I'm not going to get picked up till about a month from now when they do the post-June 1st cut and then I can pick who they want. I don't see him sitting there and playing with a second-string quarterback. What we see now, he is just wasting another year of his quote-unquote prime. Take it, go to another team, a contender, or a team that's going to pay you the money, and you'll be fine. I mean, there's some options.
Even if he gets cut, we don't even know if that's what they're going to do because the Cardinals can afford to pay him this contract. So
that's
the dead cap space is ridiculous if he does get cut either way.
Yeah, so
it's
they
a high
have
dollar.
So they have the space for it. I'll say this: Kansas City's wide receiver group is fine. It's not fantastic. It's not horrible. A lot of this is just going to come down health. Kansas City's got a lot of guys on the roster, some guys I should say, that do have some sort of injury history. I know Kansas City just continues to talk great about Kadarius Toney, how excited they are and what role they can use him in. A lot of this is going to come down to the health. And anytime we talk about the wide receivers in Kansas City, we know who the number one wide receiver is. He just so happens to play tight end, right? It's Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
We know the Chiefs think highly of Kadarius Toney. He's got to stay healthy. I'm not convinced that he can stay healthy for an entire season, but we'll have to see. Marquez, we know what his potential is. We know who he is. He's about a 750-yard receiver. Not great, not bad. Can go out there. He can elevate himself every couple of, for a couple of games a year. We saw that in the championship game, when everybody else and their mothers seemed to get injured in that game. And, MVS was able to stand up. So we know what he is. Richie James is an interesting one. I think this is where I'm different from you guys. I think Richie James is going to play more of a role in this offense than what a lot of people are giving credit for. He does have a fumbling issue. And I don't think we've talked enough about that. He's got like 8 fumbles.
Ooh.
So that's something that I think we need to keep an eye on if, that's something that they can sort of coach out of him.
Up there with Shady.
Or if it's a fluke type thing where, sometimes sports are weird where just stuff happens and then all of a sudden it goes away. Like we'll see wide receivers can just have a bad year of drops and then they don't have a problem with it anymore. So I think Richie James is going to play a bigger role in this offense than some people are giving him credit for. It also is just going to come down to the numbers, right? Are they going to carry an extra wide receiver this year because they aren't going to have a fullback, right? So we'll see what happens. We'll learn more about this as training camp rolls around. But, yeah, I think this wide receiver group is going to be fine.
I do have a question for you guys. Do you think they're going to go away from fullback at this point? They didn't sign one yet. Do you guys think they're just going to
I don't think they're going to. No, I don't think so. I think they're going to stay away from it. I think they're probably going to run with an extra wide receiver.
What do you think, Quentin?
I think I don't see why you would. You've got your quote unquote fullback. It plays the tight end position, right? Blake Bell has had that sort of fullback role the last couple of years because Kansas City doesn't hand the ball off to their fullback. They use them on special teams and as a blocker when the once in a blue moon they actually run the ball. And when they run the ball with a fullback on the field. And Blake Bell's done that before. Plus, we've seen some of the crazy stuff that, they'll put an extra lineman back there as in the fullback position to run the ball too. So I don't see why you would. You've got that role in a couple of other positions. So, no, I don't think you even need one.
And then when you consider you've got a guy like Pacheco that really, I mean, he can, you can line up any 2 running backs that we have, or as long as he's one of them, and you're okay. I mean, it's kind of that simple. He can get you that extra yard. I just don't see us signing a fullback. I think this is the year that Andy shies away from it. I think we're going to run with an extra wide receiver. And I know that McKinnon is like basically a scat back. He plays both roles. He actually plays, honestly, I mean, he's a hell of a blocker, and he's what they wanted Clyde to be honest with you. He is. I mean, all around, that's what he wanted. They wanted Clyde to be exactly what McKinnon is. A great blocking running back that can catch out of the backfield. And he just didn't prove himself. Glad he's not going to be picked up. I mean, sorry, hate to see you go, but, kind of one of those things. I think this team's going to be just fine. I'm not really concerned with anything. I think as far as the wide receivers are concerned, everybody's so worried about them. I'm not, simply because we did it with other wide receivers last year. And as far as MVS is concerned, MVS did exactly what he was brought in to do last year. Could he have gotten more yards? Hell yes. If he'd have played in a different spot, if he'd have ran different routes. But his job was the decoy, run the deep routes. If there's an opening, get there. That's what his job was. And that's what it'll probably be this year. Now, he may play a little bit more significant role given the fact that Juju's not there and you're putting Tony in Juju's place. But I still think that's going to be his primary role. And if you need him to get to 800 yards, he can get it.
He got 687 yards last year, right? I mean, it was
Pretty
nothing to go home and brag about, but not bad. I mean, every team needs a 700-yard wide receiver, right? Not every wide receiver is going to be 1,000-yard receiver. No, not every receiver. There's a reason why the Jamar Chases and the Justin Jeffersons of the world are in the league that they are. They're the elite receivers. Not every team has an elite receiver, and not every team has, not every guy is going to be that elite guy. But once again, we have one of those who just plays the tight end position. He has a TE in front of his name instead of a WR.
And not only that, look, man, when you have Cincinnati, it happened to Cincinnati last year with Jamar Chase. Same thing that happened to us with Tyreek Hill. When you have that one elite wide receiver and then you have everybody else behind him, you become predictable. Derek Carr became predictable with Devontae Adams. He forced everything to Devontae Adams.
Aaron Rodgers did.
Aaron Rodgers did the exact same thing because he didn't have enough weapons out there to spread the ball around. We have that. I'm not worried about that at all. That's the last thing on my mind is having an elite number one. I don't care if Devontae Adams plays for the Raiders or anybody else. I don't care if we don't have one. I'm happy with who we have.
Yeah, as long as we have one big guy and a lot of the serviceable guys, it's going to work out. Absolutely. I'm not worried. I mean, you guys got like Justin Ross, John Ross. I mean, those are two guys that can be very important. I think we're going to see there's going to be a lot more mixed matching between the wide receivers. You're just going to have Tony out there, but you're going to mix in some Justin Ross. You're mixing some John Ross. You're going to mix out Justin Watson. So there's a lot of different moves that they could do. Richie James. So I just don't think we should be concerned or scared because they have multiple guys that could possibly play and elevate at those different roles. So
I agree. We had a pretty good draft. I think everybody else. I mean, honestly, I think I was thinking about this last night, and I want your guys' opinion. I want to hear from you two. Who do you think had the worst draft out of everybody in the league? Who do you think had the worst draft? Caleb, who wants to go first? Go ahead.
You're gonna put me on the spot like that. I see you searching it up.
Oh, I know who had. I mean, I'm not talking about searching. I'm talking. I see Quentin. He's over there looking. Who the hell did that?
I don't know. To be honest.
I think you could always start off with teams that just didn't have first-round picks, right?
Yeah.
Some teams that just had literally less picks. So the Broncos, it's hard for me to talk about them having a good draft because, they were just limited in their resources. I know I wasn't a huge fan of some of the guys, I almost said Oakland, that the Raiders picked.
Yeah, I was going to say the Raiders is one.
Congratulations. You drafted a quarterback in the third round. I understand that because, Jimmy Garoppolo is your starter, so he's bound to get injured before week 6. So there were some teams where I didn't like the Panthers' first-round pick. I don't think Bryce Young is big enough to play in this league. So, there are some teams where I could point out specific picks. I do think that I think the Cowboys had a pretty decent draft, which is weird for me to say.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so who do you think had the worst draft?
I would have to say I agree with Quinn. I think the Raiders is one. I think another one. I think the Browns. I feel like they did their same thing. They reached on a couple players. I feel like, as usual, they got some great defensive players by name, but can they translate? I mean, they end up getting a couple of the guys that were very similar to they got a couple years down the line. Those players haven't worked. I mean, they've gotten a lot of top prospects. So I think the Browns is one as well. NFC side, let me think. I mean, the only team I can think of did not do the best, and this is just my opinion. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now, and I could be wrong. 49ers have a first-round pick. The Seattle addressed some needs. The Cardinals, I mean, this is more of like a depth draft, if anything, due to they're basically in a rebuilding year, part 1. So I'd say the Cardinals. I could be wrong, but that's the team that comes to mind for me.
I would say on the NFC side, it's probably the Vikings for me.
Yeah.
That Vikings defense was historically bad. It
Mhm.
was really bad. And I don't know if they improved it. That's why I was surprised they went wide receiver in the first round. I think they got Jordan Addison. They were part of the team that had that run of
Mhm.
wide receivers late in the first round. So I was surprised they didn't go with a pass rush there. So I didn't like the Vikings draft just because I don't know how much they actually addressed some of their desperate needs, specifically pass rush. And then I think I'm going to stick with just a team that had very little picks, the Dolphins, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I know that they have a good team there, but it's hard for me to say that you had a good draft when I think you literally had 4 picks. So
Yeah.
everybody that you actually end up picking is going to be, you're going to look at them more with a microscope. And I'm not sure they got like that guy right in the draft.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm looking at it from a need standpoint, and the Patriots had the absolute worst draft.
We always think that though. About
It's Belichick though. He's just gonna
Dude,
pick something
he
like
did-
I don't care. I'm gonna pick
But
one. He
here's the
picked a
problem.
no-name receiver or a lineman out of some school I've heard of last year. He always
He
does
did
this.
not. He did nothing to help Jones. Zero. Nothing. Absolutely
That's
nothing.
fair.
He drafted players that honestly he didn't need, and everybody that he did need he let. But look, man, he's never been great at drafting. I'm sorry, but he hasn't. In fact, if anybody wants to look, you can. He had 3 winning seasons prior to coming to the Patriots or going to the
Mhm.
Patriots, and now that Brady's gone and everything else that went along with the drama of Brady,
Mhm.
he's not really doing that well. I think the draft was horrid for him. And the fact that he didn't address one offensive need for Mac Jones, who is a struggling quarterback, in my opinion. You could take Miami all day long and say, yeah, they had 4 draft picks. The Patriots had, I think, 7 or maybe 8. I can't remember.
Mhm.
And they didn't do anything to help that kid. Nothing. And I think that's why you're going to see them struggle again this year.
Okay.
They're going to
Plus,
struggle.
That division got better around him.
Hell yeah, it did.
I mean, here's the thing about the deep. We know he can draft defense, specifically defensive backs,
Oh, easily.
corner safeties. So, I think that defense is still going to be good. To me, it's going to be, that offense. I think you're right. I think Mac Jones belongs in the same category of the Jimmy Garoppolos and Derek Carrs of the world. Meh, just an average quarterback. Not
Mhm.
sure he can really elevate your team, but he's not going to do anything too bad to really destroy a game for you.
Mhm.
But you're right in the fact that he does need weapons. That's why a lot of teams were talking about, or a lot of people were talking about how, the Patriots should be in the conversations about getting a DeAndre Hopkins or an Odell or whatever big name, wide receiver was out there. They should be, in the talks about that because they need some weapons. And I also think that they needed a better run game because when you have a young quarterback, one of his best friends is a good run game. Makes the quarterback so much easier. You just look at how effective a quarterback can be coming out of play action. You really need to be able to run the ball if you don't have any elite weapons around you. And I don't know if they really improved that. I know they drafted like a couple of guards, but I don't know. There was a lot of the things that the Patriots did that I was just like, I don't really know why you're doing that. I don't know why you're making that decision, especially because it's 17 overall. All those wide receivers were on the board. So if you're going to slightly reach for one of those guys, I could understand that. Now, they did pick one of the best corners in the draft.
Yeah.
So
Gonzalez from Oregon.
I'm not sure, how much I can complain about that.
Yeah.
It's just, I agree with you, JP.
There were several good. Yeah, there were several good wide receivers on the board. Jordan Addison was there at 17. He got picked, I think, at 23, 24 before that run of receivers happened. So there's some guys, but I guess Belichick does not want to do it. I don't know why, but I guess he's trying to recreate.
And he was like pick 12 or 13 or something. He had a really good Belichick.
Yeah, but he traded back.
Yeah, that was just dumb. I mean, why would you trade back when you need fucking weapons? You need weapons, man. What the hell? You got a subpar quarterback and you don't give this kid shit. What are you just? I mean, he's been thrown to the wolves for what, 2-3 years now. Give him some help.
It'll help that he actually has a real offensive coordinator this year.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's true.
Instead of just a defensive guy. So, his rookie year, he had a good year under good offensive coordinator, not a good head coach, but a good offensive coordinator.
I agree.
And then when you bring in a defensive guy who has a pencil behind his ear, despite the fact he has a laminated piece of paper, I'm not really sure that, he was going to. I was questioning that move from the beginning. So, now that he has a real offensive coordinator, we give Billy O'Brien a lot of crap because of what he did down in Houston, but he's a good offensive coordinator. And we saw that with the way the offense was run down there in Houston. So, maybe this is just one of those situations where it's not going to be nearly as bad just because you have a guy that can actually, run an offense.
Maybe
It's kind of important. Hot take.
Yeah.
It's important to know how to run an offense in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Preach it.
I don't know. It was just weird to me. I mean, yeah, Miami didn't have a great draft. They didn't have a whole lot of draft picks. They,
I think
they
they
didn't
literally
need
had 4.
Yeah, and they didn't need a whole lot either. I think they needed more depth, in my opinion.
They trade all that depth away to get guys in the like Jalen Ramsey and many others. I mean, they're just trading those picks away.
Tyreek Hill.
They're in a win now mode, which is fine.
Losing your first round pick because you were tampering.
Yeah. I don't know. But I know we were going to hear from the commish today, but apparently he wanted to test our Chiefs knowledge, but I guess he's scared. I don't know what's going on with him. But he is a Miami fan, so what do you expect?
Hey, that's fine. If he wants to try and defend in the chat the Miami draft, I don't know how exactly you're going to do it because I mean, even if your team is good now, having a bad draft or one or two bad drafts back to back can really destroy your team because no matter what contract that you sign, most players' contracts are 2, 3, or 4 years. So if you miss on a couple of drafts within a short time frame, that could destroy your team.
Exactly.
So you really need to continue to hit on players that have potential to be starters on other teams. That's why Kansas City continues to be good. It's not just the fact that we have Patrick Mahomes, is that you're able to put more influx in with young talent. That's why this defense has been serviceable and has been pretty good towards the end of the year. Because you're
11th overall, it's a little more serviceable.
Yeah, bringing young, talented guys into the NFL in your defense, and so you don't have to go out and overspend on top-end corners, or you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money at linebacker, because you're able to bring guys in on cheap rookie deals that by the end of the year, they're really inside of this system, and you can just, be a good defense despite the fact that you see the struggles early in the year.
Here's a quick little side note. Right now, I'm going to try to remember these numbers, but the Chiefs in their top 51 players, 9 of them are paid under $1 million a year. 9. That's pretty insane on your top 51.
That's why I got a nail in the draft.
Exactly. Then when you get below that, it just goes down from there. But most of these guys we've seen on the field. Sky Moore. I mean, a lot of guys that we've had are a couple of offensive players, a couple of Blake Bell. I mean, all of these guys are down. I think, in fact, if I remember the numbers completely, I want to say there was 27 players that were under $1 million, or right at $1 million and under. 1.1, $1 million, 950, 940, 870, 740, league minimum. I mean, that's pretty insane. You don't usually see a Super Bowl team that has a group of guys that low. I'm pretty excited about that, actually.
A quick count on Over the Cap says the base salary for about 35 players is either at $1 million or a little bit below $1 million.
There it is, 35. I was thinking it was 27. Yeah,
35
out of 51.
Because like Jawan Taylor's base salary for this season is $1,080,000. So it's like just a little bit above $1 million. So there are, and we know he has some bonuses and stuff that are going to come in, but the 35-ish players are at $1 million or right about $1 million. Willie Gay is $1.2 million.
Yeah,
out of him. So
but
the combination of Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, was one of the best and probably most underrated linebacker duo in the NFL, because you're getting Pro Bowl level linebacker play out of Nick Bolton, who's making just a hair over $1 million. I know some people had a problem with him being drafted because, there's the conversation about, linebackers sort of turned into the running back of the defense in terms of positional value. Some people have really devalued the linebacker position, and some of it's justified. Some of it is simply that teams don't run the ball nearly as much anymore, so the linebacker has lost a lot of its value there. Mm-hmm. But what some people don't, know is that the linebacker, just because of the spot they are on the field, they're sort of that quarterback of the defense. They're right in the middle. You'll see linebackers all across the league. They'll go over and tap the defensive tackle over to tell him to move over a gap, right? He sort of keeps guys in check. And as offenses continue to implement this pre-snap motion, the linebackers will get more important there. So
that's when you see guys like Willie Gay that are really athletic and that can chase down a wide receiver.
Yeah, and then you've got that part of it too, right? You see a lot of zone being played, and I don't think that some of these linebackers from the early 2000s could play in today's defenses because they have a different skill set. We don't see a ton of thumpers anymore because, generally speaking, if you're known sort of as that thumper, that big linebacker, you don't have that speed to get around the edge. And wide receivers are getting faster, running backs are getting faster, so your defense has to get faster too.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a shout out to the commish. He's got to put his dog down, and I know what that's like. That sucks. He just texted me. His dog has had some issues, and he's got to put her down, so he's pretty upset right now. So, hey, man, sorry that you're going through that. If anybody knows who he is, he's the guy that owns Fantasy Sports Corporation. So let me do a real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Underdog Fantasy is here to save your post-fantasy football season blues. The easiest place to play and win with the Underdog Fantasy app. Get up to 20 times your money in a single night with our Pick'em contests. Grab some insurance when setting your picks and win even when one pick fails. Go online now and use the promo code ChiefsFocus to double your deposit up to $100. Sit gingerbread, good girl.
Double your deposit, guys. Underdog Fantasy, up to $100. All you got to use is make the money, man. I mean, you got the chance right now. Hey, and right now it's a great opportunity to bet on NBA because
or the Royals losing.
That's
a good point, Quentin. Yes,
That's a given.
Shout out to the Royals. Tickets are about to be very cheap. I'm gonna have a great summer going to the game.
It might be free.
$20. It may be free, or it may get back to where we saw happen at the University of Miami. For those who watched 30 for 30, talking about football, University of Miami had to where they were putting tickets in the Burger King meals. So maybe they'll have that with cheese.
Well, I don't know. I mean, right now they're putting the smackdown on the Orioles. They're winning 6-0. So, maybe I just need to give them some more crap online there. Maybe they'll win more games.
How much do you think in the next 3 minutes they could blow that lead? I'm just curious.
I mean, it's possible. I mean,
they could blow that. They could blow that lead in the next 10 minutes.
Well, let's hope not for Kansas City's sake. We need another good sports team.
That's true. Anyway, getting back to it, we watched what you were talking about, Quentin, is true because we watched Anthony Hitchens go to shit pretty quickly.
Yeah, you lose that one step, and it is extremely impactful.
Absolutely.
Anthony Hitchens was one of those guys. It's like he was an athlete, got him from the Cowboys, and his first year here, he was great. I mean, he really was. He was the quarterback of the defense, that veteran presence. He knew what he was doing.
Very smart.
He was, and still is. You don't lose that. But, we saw in his last year here, he was losing that step. We used to see this with the Honey Badger, right? Now, he didn't lose that step while he was here. He's lost it in New Orleans. That's why you can't bring a guy like that back. Daniel Sorensen is a great example of that. He was really good when he was here. He was a really good third safety. He had a role, and he was really good at that role. Sort of lost that step. The problem with defensive backs and corners, when they lose that step, you see them get grabby, right? That's why Kansas City, Rashad Breeland, right? That's why he was grabby, because he just couldn't keep up with a lot of these really fast wide receivers. So athleticism is so important. And that's why Kansas City continues to go after super athletic guys in the draft.
Okay, well, I gotta fight you a little bit on the Daniel Sorensen thing. Um, he was dumb. He did a lot of dumb things, and
Well, you're blunt with it. I mean, that's a fair point.
I'm sorry, but
No, I don't think you're wrong.
he was not very intelligent. He didn't really lose a step. I think he just lost a few more brain cells.
He
because
just didn't read the defense well. And
he
it
didn't
hurt
read defenses
every
at all.
single person. That's why I have Matthew had his hands up the entire season, like touchdown. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
I mean, he had so many people pissed off. I'm surprised he didn't have to go home with security. He was just not good. He was put in positions to be good when he was with Sutton the first couple of 3 years, but then he went to total crap, and he never recovered from that. Part of that problem is positioning, because he definitely is not great, in playing a press corner or playing down the field as a safety. He sucked at it. He was terrible in the red zone. In fact, he allowed so many touchdowns, I couldn't even count them at this point, especially towards the last 3 years of his career with us. But he always had that one pick that brought him back, and everybody said, "Oh, Dirty Dan, we love him."
Hey,
And 5 minutes later, what the fuck?
had the play that turned around the Houston Texans game.
He
right?
did.
That fake punt. He was there for it. So
He was.
He
he, obviously he wasn't, the best safety even on the team for a lot of it. He was a really good third safety. And I would say that, towards the end, one of his biggest problems was simply the fact that he was getting slower. And, when it looks like you're out of position because, well, guys are faster than you. And I think when Brett Veach inherited this roster, I think those first couple of years you can see sort of the transition into what Brett Veach and this team wanted and was looking at, especially in the late rounds, athleticism. I mean, you just see the guys that Kansas City continues to bring in, and it's based on athleticism. That corner that we took played a lot of safety roles, right? What's his name? Let me see. That defensive back in the 4th round, Shamari Connor.
Yep. Connor's going to be good.
He played safety as well as corner. So his first year, he played like some slot corner role, and he played some safety. So it's very much a sneak kind of guy, right? Very athletic and can play all over the field. Those are the kind of guys Kansas City goes after, especially in the later rounds when they're from smaller schools. You're not exactly sure, the film tells you a lot, but you can see that, man, he's got some good athletic skills. He's smart. We've talked to him. Let's bring him in and sort of just see what happens. That's what you have to do in the later rounds. And when you have good coaching, you can work him inside your scheme and you can get him to be successful.
And when you have good scouts that can find those later round guys that nobody else can find. And that's the one thing that Veach has always seems to be able to do. He finds those diamonds in the rough that just,
It helps when he was a scout for a long time too.
Very long time.
I think that
he was our scout.
Yeah, I mean, with Andy Reid, even going back to his Philadelphia days, he was working inside of the scout room, right? He worked his way all the way up. I think that, JJ Piccolo, right, the Royals general manager, he started out as a scout, as an intern, and worked his way up. So I think when you've been there, done that, I think that makes your job easier, and it allows you to sort of know what you're looking for in terms of the athleticism. So I think that goes underrated too. Just having that background has got to be a tremendous help. Being able to work with your guys and know what they're seeing and being able to have throw around the jargon and talk about this is what we're looking for. And working with Andy Reid for so long also has to help. I mean, NFL stands for not for long. Yep. And when you have head coaches and GMs constantly in flux in whatever organization, it makes it hard to really know, as a GM, I want this. As a coach, I want this. We don't have that problem in Kansas City because our GM and head coach have been working together since they were knee-high to a duck.
Since 2004. That's when it started. It was 2004. Brett Veach was out getting Andy Big Macs. That way he was an intern for Andy. And Andy even said, he said, what was his job? He went out and got me Big Macs and fries when I was sitting there drawing up schemes. He goes, he's the guy that got me cheeseburgers. Okay, well, you know what? One of the greatest stories I think ever was when Andy had him. Andy was going, I don't know if he went on vacation or I don't know what he was doing, but he said, "I want you to I want you to draw up a list of draft picks, these guys that I'm giving you, and I want you to tell me all their best attributes, why you think they belong on this team, and I want everything on every
Mhm.
player." Veach stayed up for 4 straight days doing this. Andy came back in on Monday. Veach runs in there all excited. "Here you go, Andy. I got this done for you." He says, "What?" He said, "Well, you asked me to do that on all these draft picks." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I forgot about that." And he put it down. He said, "Good job." Never looked at it.
Mm.
Pissed me off. That pissed me
Well,
off. I'm not
That
gonna
would
lie.
make me mad too.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, he didn't look at it. So Andy waited. When he had time, he skimmed through it. And he said, I didn't think you would be able to get that in depth this early in your career. You're sticking with me. And he did. And look at him. I mean, look where he's at.
Yep.
So it's just, you got to have the knowledge, and Veach has got that. And he learned it from Andy. He didn't have anybody else to learn from. I mean, he's been with Andy since 2004, the beginning of his career. He thought he was going to get fired when Andy put it down. His first thought was, "Oh, shit, I'm getting fired. I must have done something wrong because he's going to fire me." He didn't fire him. He just wanted to see if he could do it. And he did. I mean,
And that just shows you the work ethic. Work ethic there is what he probably puts into the draft and everything else.
Absolutely.
I mean, because of that and the detail we seen that soar right there in 2004 to now 2023 doesn't surprise me because he's nailing on all these different draft picks. I mean, we're almost 20 years ago from this event, and it's not like he's doing the same stuff, and he's doing things that are beneficial not only to the Eagles but also to the Chiefs and bring all this talent in these later rounds. I mean, 35 out of your 51 players you found there making under $1 million. That's a steal. And that's what you have to have if you want to win this league in certain instances. That's how you have to have a dynasty.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to have some people come and some people are going to go, but if you keep replenishing that system of depth and finding players year in and year out, it's going to help. And that's why I believe they put so much into the cornerback room. They're always bringing guys in because they don't know who's going to be gone and who could be used in different situations. So, I mean, that's just one prime example we see right there.
It's why Kansas City can afford not to re-sign guys like Juan Thornhill.
Yeah.
Right? Juan Thornhill was a solid corner here, had his ups and downs, very average,
After his
above
injury,
average guy, right?
Yeah.
When his rookie contract is up, it's great value when he's on his rookie contract. You see what he gets when he gets on the free agent market. He's a veteran. He has a ton of experience in the NFL now. His price tag's going to go up. And instead of feeling like, man, I'm not sure if we can, I mean, he's good. We want to keep him around, but it's just going to be, push us towards the cap. Who are we not going to be able to sign because we keep him? Instead of having all of those conversations, you can be confident. He's like, all right, thanks for your help. Here's your Super Bowl ring. Bye-bye. And good luck to you. Because we can bring in the next guy and he can be as good or just as good or better than you. And we feel very confident in that. That's the benefit of having good coaching and a good front office, because we can move on from him, and everybody from the players to the coach to the upper management can feel good that, we'll be fine.
If you can consider the fact that you bring in these draft picks and look at the caliber, I can't even say the caliber. Look at the amount of rookies that play on our team that played on our team last year that started. Look at how many of them played 65% of the snaps last year. Dude, that doesn't happen. That is not normal.
It's an anomaly.
We had the most rookie starters in a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, and to ever win a Super Bowl. I mean, we had 10 total active rookies and 7 that played.
We had the same amount of rookies start as, I think the only 2 teams that had more rookies start were the Houston Texans, and there was one other team that I can't remember. It was also a bad team.
And neither one of those teams made the playoffs.
Right. It's the power of the draft. And we'll go over, tomorrow we'll go over the rest of the draft picks more specifically. But I've got one more topic that I want to talk to you about, and this is you're going to get so excited, JP. So after I say what it is, I'm going to let you go first. So I was looking through the depth chart, right? Just seeing, who officially or unofficially is going to be the starter heading into the year. At left defensive tackle, Danny Shelton is listed as the starter.
Fucking love Danny. I mean, I've been waiting for him to get his ass out there. I know he had a little bit of an injury issue last year, and they brought him in. And at one point, a buddy of mine told me that he was looking to get out because he was pissed that he wasn't getting any reps. But Andy and them said, hey, just hang on. You're getting a ring out of this. Hang on, you're going to get another one. Thank you. I've been waiting for this. That motherfucker takes up 2 roster spots. The dude is a monster. I'm
He was
sorry,
so
but
big they didn't have shoulder pads to fit him when he first got here.
Oh my God. I mean, the guy is a fucking monster, dude.
Yeah, when I
I
saw
can't
him-
wait to see him.
It looked like a guy, looked like an average guy who put on a small shirt. I mean, it was uber tight. I don't even know how they got that thing on there.
Fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah, fat guy in a little coat. I mean, it was crazy.
Well, I will tell you, I am excited. That makes me happy. That guy is going to be a monster on this defensive line. That will solidify this defense as a top 10 defense.
And especially on next to Chris Jones, right?
Yes.
When you've got 2 guys on there, one is just, one can just be a fine guy, an average NFL player, and I think that's what Danny Shelton can be as the floor for him. But when you put him next to a guy like Chris Jones, Danny Shelton is so big, you can't afford to double team a guy like that when you have Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu on this defensive line. So you've only got so many offensive linemen. You can't double team everybody. So someone's going to get that one-on-one matchup, whether it's George Karlaftis or, Felix, Charles Omenihu, every once in a while, Chris Jones. So, having a guy like him benefits your team overall just because he's either going to eat up the double team or when he gets his opportunity, he's going to excel there. Plus, if the defensive tackle, generally his role is just seal up gaps, not gaps. And when you're that
he can
big,
seal up 4 gaps.
when you're that big, that makes your job a hell of a lot easier.
Can you imagine him walking into a gap, like the store, and they go, whoa.
No, he
we
has
have
to order.
nothing that'll
everything has
fit
to be
your ass.
specialty ordered. I wonder what's
Guarantee it.
food
We ain't
side.
got nothing that's going to fit your big ass, so sorry. I know you fill gaps on the field, but this gap can't fill you. I should.
Well, he's going to help with the run game. And kind of one thing Phil said, imagine Shelton with Coburn and Jones on the line on a passing down. Maybe throw a Felix in there. You never know. The offensive lines are going to be scared.
Man,
They're going to be scared.
that right there. I've been waiting for this. I thought last year for sure he would be in by week 8, but they just didn't do
I
it.
think honestly too, the Chiefs' defensive line also stayed relatively healthy, which this team was healthy, pretty much throughout the year. Knock on wood and everything. So I think the opportunity wasn't there, right? Because you're only allowed to activate so many guys on game day.
Yeah.
So he was just sort of the odd man out. I think if he stays the starter even if he ends up rotating in and out with Derek Nottie, he'll be a fun guy to watch, on those. Even if it's just he's the 1st and 10 guy and then he rotates out, like he doesn't play on 3rd and longs or guaranteed passing downs. And he's just in there for, run game. He'll be fun to watch.
I guarantee after week 3, if he's starting, you won't see a run game against us. People won't run. Fuck it. Just leave the backfield empty. I'm done. I don't even want to consider because somebody's going to get hurt. This man, he's one of those guys too that he likes to put his weight on you when he's done. And that's what I loved about him was that like if he takes you down, he just like kind of like dead weight and he leaves it there for a couple seconds, especially on your chest. So you can't really breathe.
That'll hurt.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. I mean, he is a beast. That's exciting. Hey, man.
I knew you would enjoy that.
Oosh, I'm happy. I'm happy.
Now, I think Kansas City probably does bring in another, they have to bring in some more guys, some more veteran guys that'll get cut post June 1. Some guys that are on the street. Just because for the simple fact that you have to bring in 90-ish guys into training camp. That's just the way that it works. And so you're going to see some more signings probably over the next few weeks. Some teams they'll end up cutting their 7th round pick, and some of these teams that had 12 draft picks and they'll cut one of their guys. Kansas City will scoop them up.
Or a guy that hasn't been picked up yet. that used to play for us and was really good at his spot, and then
Wants two
just
Super Bowls.
wants to get another. Wants to, maybe just go ahead and complete his playoff sack record. I'm just spitting facts.
Oh yeah, those are just random. What a random, thing of things to bring up about one potential guy. It's crazy.
I know, it's pretty insane, isn't it? And then you got the other guy that swatted a ball down in every game he played in last year. I mean, could bring him back on a good deal.
Yeah, so Kansas City's going to continue to add guys. Every team's going to continue to add guys. That's just the way that it works, because you need 90-ish players into training camps. So you just need camp bodies. And some of the guys, we've seen this before, some guys will make the practice squad, especially now the expanded practice squad, right? Going from 10 to 16 over a couple years ago, they made that expansion, so more guys will make the practice squad.
Veterans that can stay on the practice squad.
Yeah, veterans can be on the practice squad now. I'll
injury.
Continue, yeah, I'll continue to say that was one of the best COVID rules to come out of the NFL, was being able to put veterans on your practice squad.
Absolutely,
that was an awesome rule that they ended up adding. It's going to save a lot of guys' careers, and some guys that are going to be out for a year, on injury, whether they get hurt in camp, and instead of trying to slide them on some of the other, you can just simply throw them on the practice squad and call it good.
Yeah.
Because Blake Bell, right? He was a guy that was injured.
Oh, did you look at his contract? $1 million.
Yeah, you can just keep him on there. You can keep him around. These are the sort of things that to help guys extend their career. It'll help guys continue to earn a paycheck, even if it's relatively small in terms of the NFL. I'd be very happy to earn a $500,000 contract to hold a clipboard. So,
well, league minimum is what, seven?
Veteran minimum is $750,000.
Yeah, it's why Chase Daniel is one of my heroes. Okay, I mean the man is just worked.
Made a lot of money being a backup. So
being a clipboard holder.
Yeah,
I did the math. I did the math when he came in to hand the ball off that one time when he was with the Chargers this year, when Herbert broke his chest. After the game, I did the math, and I'd have to go back and look it up to see how much money he's made per pass. And it was just like, you're my hero.
Yeah.
There's nothing more American than, one, winning a lawsuit and a dumb lawsuit, and two, making a ton of money by not doing anything.
Absolutely. And what's this? It's going on his 13th year in the league?
No, it's like 16th, 17th, I think.
Chase Daniels, really? Has it been that long?
I think so. He came out in 2008, right? Or maybe I am wrong. Couldn't probably able to find that. I thought it was like 17, but I could be wrong. I remember he came out in 2007, 2008. So he's been with New Orleans, the Chargers. I think it was like with
year.
Yeah, what's his year?
Damn, dude, he's played for almost every team. Looks like he came out in 2009.
Okay.
He's played on the Saints here in Kansas City, Philadelphia, back to the Saints, Chicago, Detroit, and now the Chargers.
How many years total has he been in the league? Is like 13, 14?
Yeah, he's been 13 years.
13
wow,
years?
okay, right. Okay, I thought 17, but my math isn't mathing, so.
I don't know. I kind of remember, when he came in, and I thought it was 2010, but it was 2009. You're right there. And
he has earned $41 million.
Holy shit.
You don't have to worry about much.
$42 million.
God, man.
Yeah, so he's heading into his 14th year.
He's in that half a percentile, and he hadn't done shit. That's pretty crazy. But here's the thing. He fell into it. He was good at what he did when he came into the league, good enough for somebody to draft him.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that he would be a good quality backup at some point.
Yeah, I like Drew Lock, right? That's going to be his role. He'll be a solid, if he can continue to, work with whoever's in the room, right? Continue to work with them, get better. I mean, look at what guys like Chad Henne, right? Matt Moore, when he was here a few years ago, it's a real role in the NFL that, backup quarterbacks to be able to either help a young quarterback or to just know that if for some reason your starting quarterback gets injured, that you're kind of, that you're kind of screwed, but to just make it a little less painful.
I was really hoping Alex Smith would come in when Matt Nagy got moved up and come in as our quarterback's coach, because he had such a rapport with Mahomes that I thought maybe he would do it. But he's got that gig, doing TV, and he's enjoying his kids, and I get it.
I think he'll do that if he does that. It's gonna be later in his life. I feel like
Yeah, I
he
think
wants to
so,
enjoy his kids and things like that. And it's understandable. I
Yeah.
would like him to, but I think it's gonna be a little bit before that happens.
I think so too. And Andy gave him an open invitation, so Andy said, "Hey, if you want to come back and coach, you got it."
So some quick math on Chase Daniels. He has made $23,688 per snap taken in the NFL.
It's stupid.
Yeah, it's
That's
awesome.
just
He's
crazy.
my hero.
I want some money.
Damn.
Why are
Right.
the Chiefs? Well, I mean, actually, no, they did. He was with the Chiefs. Didn't he start a game for the Chiefs at one point?
He started
Started
when
a
we had
few.
the conglomerate of guys during
Okay.
the Tyler Thigpen and Matt Castle era.
Oh, long
Because
days.
he was here for 3 years, from 13 to 15.
I thought
Yeah.
he started behind. Well, no, he
Foles?
started behind. He started behind Alex Smith a couple of times when Alex was out.
Mm.
So, because Alex
Mm.
came in 13, and he was here 13, 14, and 15. So that would be the 3 years that he backed up Mahomes. I mean,
Okay.
backed up Smith.
Yeah,
And I remember him starting a few games.
Mm.
I know he started a few games because, like I said, I've looked this up a few times now about who he's played for
Yeah.
and what he's done.
I mean, hey, look, you know what? Backup quarterbacks now. I mean, Nick Foles kind of changed the trajectory of what a backup quarterback's going to make in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, a good backup quarterback, I should say.
He must have
Um,
had some starts in 13 because that was his third most snaps that he's ever taken in a year.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
probably
He took
the reason.
100
And I think that was
snaps
the year that was
in
the year
13.
that Alex Smith got hurt, and I can't remember what happened to him.
He
don't
played
know
in
if it was
5 games, it seems
Yeah.
it looks like, in 2013. He's also
I can't remember
played
his ankle.
in 18 and 19, he played in a ton of games for the Bears.
Well,
That was Nagy was up there at that point, wasn't he?
Nagy was there,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah,
so.
so he must have brought him up there with him
Yeah.
whenever he moved there to get, a guy that knows his system and is just,
Yeah.
that we see that happen too.
God, I'm so excited about Danny Shelton.
I knew you would. I don't know how we ended up on Chase Daniel, but
That's okay.
That's
Sometimes
my
that's
hero.
what happens.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, man, you know what? That's the beauty of doing this off the cuff. We can do whatever the hell we want. It's just exciting to think that he's going to be on the field. I mean, God, we're going to be
it's gonna be
that's
scary.
gonna be scary.
Top 5 defense.
Oh my God. I mean, we're 11th overall last year. I mean, if we get into that top 5, between top 5 and top 10 this year, holy shit. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going back to a Super Bowl
Mm-hmm.
and winning.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance. It's going to be a lot of work, but they have a good chance once again. So,
Philip said he just now saw the Donovan Smith signing. Yeah, it happened earlier today, Philip. I'm sorry, I should have texted you and told you. It's a good signing. I'm happy with it. I mean, we're it's kind of solidifying what Veach has got in his mind. So, and I think everybody said, "Well, we paid a right tackle $80 million." No, you paid a flex player $80 million. You played somebody that's very versatile. $80
an
million.
anchor on one position can play the other position if needed.
Exactly.
yeah, both
No.
of these tackle positions are going to have some true camp battles. Now, I feel very comfortable saying that both the left and right tackle, yesterday we talked about how the right tackle is going to have a pure camp battle. I think now this goes for left tackle too. I will say that Donovan Smith has never played right tackle. He's been purely a left tackle. He did have some injury issues last year. He played 13 games last year, but a good chunk of the games, but he ran into some foot and elbow. I want to say it was a hand or his elbow. He ran into a couple of different injuries last year. So This is a guy who's been pretty reliable, but when you see missing a couple of games in the year that you end up signing somebody, that's something that I just want to, keep an eye on. It's probably the reason that he didn't get signed earlier and why he signed just a 1-year deal, worth up to $9 million. It's not like we paid him $9 million up front. This is a guy that, I do think that there's a real chance that he does end up being the starting.
With that kind of money,
left
he's going to
tackle.
start, regardless of what. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think Corey said he thinks Taylor's going to beat him out at left tackle. I don't think so, because he doesn't really play right tackle as much, or if ever, and you don't pay a guy up to $9 million, and I think his base is what, 4.5. $5 million, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you don't pay a guy that kind of money to get beat out. You don't sign him to that kind of contract to get beat out. Not in that
Yeah,
position.
I would just say that it's truly going to be a camp battle. I think that there is a chance that he does end up being a backup because a $4.5 million backup for the left tackle with veteran experience at 29.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could see that happening just because there's a reason why he got signed now instead of earlier. You know, this isn't a guy that's a superstar. So if he ends up being your backup, maybe you use him, you know, towards the end, sort of the Carlos Hyde experience where you realize that there's not a ton of space on the roster for an extra tackle. I don't see why you would, but maybe this is a trade piece towards the end of camp.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see him,
point.
Riding the bench just because you just have to see what you have on the offensive line.
And
I have a hard time seeing it because we don't pay any. I mean, you don't see too many backup, like even Kyle Long, that was a great player. And I know he broke his hand, but he was a great player. He didn't get that kind of money.
He's like 39, though, when we got him.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't that old, but he was up there. He wasn't that old. God.
Yeah, it is confusing, man.
Yeah, it's
and
confusing.
This my last point I'll say. We'll come before we wrap things up. If he is a trade piece, this is another way how Beach can find someone on a practice squad. And someone's going to get cut and get him. I mean, we saw how I went over the story multiple times. I don't know if you were on for here, Quentin, but do you know how Beach was able to get Ward on this roster? Do you remember the exact move?
Yeah, he was on the Cowboys practice squad.
Mm-hmm. And who did he trade to get him? Do you remember?
Well, you don't have to trade to steal a guy off a practice squad.
No. So this was when the roster was being finalized. He traded Parker Enger to the Cowboys for Travaris when they did a swap because both those players are being cut. And you're like, you know what? We need some offensive help. We need some more back. Let's just do the swap. And they did that. And we had a great corner from that day forward. So if Beach does something with this move and maybe needs to trade him, like you guys are saying, I'm all for it if it works out at the end of the day. They're going to get a lot of reps in OTAs, in camp, and all that stuff for the next 3 months, 4 months. We're going to see a lot of stuff and hear a lot of things. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to have a pretty good understanding. Probably by the middle to end of camp, we're going to see the starting. We're going to have a good idea what the offensive line is going to look like looking in 2023 to 2024 season.
I agree. I mean, you never know what's going to happen either way. But one thing I do want to bring up, I want to send our condolences to Shaquille Barrett from the Bucks. He lost his 3-year-old daughter to a drowning in his own pool, which is a horrid thing. I don't know, nobody knows the circumstances around the pool or if it had a fence or what the situation was. I will say that that's the one thing that you want to make sure if you have a swimming pool, you got anybody young or pets, make sure you have a fence around it, because if you don't, things like this can happen. I don't know his situation, but regardless, man, to lose your 3-year-old daughter like that, that's got to be probably the worst thing anybody can go through, to walk out and find your kid like that. Yep. So anyway, wanted to say that because I actually was going to bring it up on last night's show, and we just got so in depth with everything else. But and we were talking about a Bucks player tonight. So anyway, that was horrid. And by the way, when he did play for the Bucks, he didn't do this. I'm talking about Donovan. He did okay blocking for Brady, and Brady had pretty much square wheels on the truck. So it's not like he was the best runner. So again, that's why I'm going backwards to the whole thing that you don't actually have to have 100% the best on that line with Mahomes the way he is. You got to give him a few seconds. That's what you need. Every other quarterback in the league, yes, you're going to need a pretty damn good offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got a guy like him that's just so mobile and is able to get the hell out of the way so quick, and he's so elusive with the way he fakes everything, he just keeps everybody on their toes. He keeps defenses on their toes. So, what is he saying? Let's see. something about. He said it was confusing to sign a right guard to huge money, but two of each made that work. He's been kind of unorthodox in building the O-line. He really has been. I mean, I think he went overboard. You know, that with the Kyle Long and everybody that he signed that year. Me and Caleb actually talked about that on the show. It was a little bit of overkill to protect Mahomes, but then he realized that he didn't really need, that kind of depth. He needed solid depth.
You got to remember, though, they were coming off that Super Bowl where literally the entire offensive line got hurt. So
that's true.
Mean, it probably was a little bit of an overreaction, but
absolutely,
those, generally speaking, 1-year contracts can't really hurt your team.
No.
Unless they prevent you from doing moves, which is
There's
why
literally no dead cap space there if you cut him. So
yeah, which is why there have been people critical of some of the contracts like the OBJ one, where it's it's a 1-year deal, but it was just so much that can end up hurting you from bringing in other people. But
it's a $15 million guaranteed deal. That's hurting you.
I would say that I didn't really have a problem with them doing that. I'd like to think the offensive line is a unit. Right, so the unit has to be together. The unit has to be good. You can't just bring in one superstar left tackle and neglect the rest of it and expect you to have a good offensive line. So when I don't mind you paying anybody your left guard. Generally speaking, probably shouldn't be your number one paid offensive lineman. But when the 3 of your other guys are on rookie deals, I don't think that hurts your team because the overall cost of your offensive line is so low that it's not going to hurt your team. So paying Tooney, what he did was a lot, but overall the cost of your offensive line is still relatively low.
Yeah,
I agree.
And you can play left tackle on a pinch if you need to. And we saw him have to do that whenever Orlando Brown got hurt. Not last year, but the year before against the Bengals, the first time we played him. So it is all going to work out. I'm not concerned at all one bit.
I agree. Well, I think that's about it for tonight. I appreciate everybody for joining, and we thank Fantasy Sports Corporation for allowing us to do this on Wednesday nights, and we also thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring our show. We will be back next Wednesday with you guys, and we'll be back on our channel tomorrow night.
Finish up the draft
talk, and we might talk about something else. We could talk about it on this show really quick. Everybody that wants to bring it up, I know they want us to. I'm not really going to get into the conversation because it's not really a football matter. But people are really talking about the whole Mahomes situation and how, his brother and everything. It is not something that's football related.
No, it's not sports news.
It's not sports news, so who gives a shit?
His
brother's a 22-year-old man.
We're not answering your questions.
Not going to answer any questions about it. It's just dumb.
Like 2 weeks ago when Kawhi Leonard's sister was convicted of murder, that's not sports news. So my journalism background tells me that those things need to be separated.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about it.
Yeah, it's just, look, for anybody out there that wants to talk about it, there's a lot of gossip channels on Twitter, and there's probably a lot of gossip channels on YouTube if that's what you want to do. But this is a sports show. We're here to talk about sports and not what goes on outside of sports. By the way, real quick, does anybody have a prediction on tonight's game? Lakers and Warriors? Anybody got a prediction?
They play tomorrow.
Oh, is it tomorrow night?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. Today's Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Any predictions for tomorrow?
Lakers are going to win.
I don't like what you're saying right now.
That's fine. I don't like the Warriors, so that's.
Okay. I like Curry.
I don't like Steph Curry. I don't.
Why?
So. I don't like him. I like LeBron. With all due respect,
he's
LeBron
going golfing against Mahomes.
Huh?
Great.
Him and Travis Kelce are facing up against Steph Curry and one other player in their off-season golf tournament.
Oh. Well, I got to tell you.
I have a whole list of reasons why I don't like Steph Curry, but that's a story for another time because we'll be on here for another hour arguing.
Oh, well, I don't want to do that. I like Steph Curry. I think he's the most pure shooter in the game and probably in the history of the game.
He changed basketball, so.
He absolutely
can't take a team by himself to the playoffs.
What do you say?
He can. Let me say it from the mic. He cannot take the team to a playoffs by himself if everyone around him is hurt.
Who else can?
LeBron.
Oh, come on. Come on, man. Where was LeBron last year? Where was LeBron last year?
They're in the playoffs.
No, they
Hey,
were
I don't know
out.
if you guys know this, but the
Let's
sport
end
we
it.
talk about has an oblong, awkward sort of shape to it. The sport you're talking about doesn't exist in Kansas City. So,
I
Yeah,
understand.
we need a team.
It will soon,
we need
though.
a team.
It
We
will
need a team, and they should be in the Eastern Conference. What happens is Seattle needs a team, and Kansas City needs a team. Seattle can be part of the West Coast, and Kansas City can be part of the East Coast, and there we go.
I would
Problem
much
solved.
rather
Look,
have a
look,
sports
I
team
love your
that
mama,
smacks a
Philip.
little puck around. I would much
And
rather
see,
have a team
I like,
that does that.
and that's why me and Philip's mom get along so well.
We
That
gotta
right
we
there.
gotta bring a team that smacks a little puck around, and I believe there's a team in Arizona that is booty and plays in a.
Well, they might get swept. They're about to play, and actually, they should be playing right about now. So I'm gonna be watching that. But they're down 2-0 to the Nuggets, and they may go down 3-0, and all that stuff ain't gonna work out. So that'd be nice if we can get him.
Hot
I'll be very
take:
happy.
Steph Curry gets his 5th ring.
Okay, well, we'll discuss that another day, JP. We'll just argue out there.
Just go get a fight on Twitter.
Yeah, that's what we could do. All right, we'll use our personal pages and just kick the shit out of each other on Twitter. All right, guys, we appreciate everybody for joining. We'll talk to you guys later on. Peace out.